Themba, how are you?
How are you, Alex? My good old friend. We had some talks yesterday. Here we are again today, but you know, we squashed it like men should do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's less than 24 hours since your fight. How are you feeling? How's the body feeling?
I feel very good. Obviously, I'm still sick with the flu. Still recovering from the flu. A lot of people don't know actually, but it's good. It makes for a greater story, I woke up 3 a.m. on the day of the fight with a flu, congested nose. My throat was sore. I had a headache, severe headache, and I ordered my medicine online. Then I actually didn't consume any medication. I just ordered the Vicks so that I can kind of remove the congestion of my nose. And yeah, man, it was a challenge because you know what? There were moments I was thinking at that time to call my manager and say to him and tell him what was happening. And I thought to myself, maybe by the time it's 8 a.m. I'll be better. And if I call him now, they will get worried, So I was so scared to open up about it to my coaches. Only my teammate, my teammate who slept in the same room with me, he knew I was sick because he said at night when I was sleeping I was busy coughing and he could hear me breathing so funny. But it was difficult because you have to make a decision, and this was a hard fight, for me, because on the other side your back is against the wall because obviously I'm coming off a loss. You don't want to lose again. I mean, I don't know if my job was on the line whatsoever, but you don't want to lose again. If you lose again, then you kind of you're back right at the back of the pack, and then you also don't want not to fight because all the preparation was for nothing, literally I came into this fight without any injury. I was so healthy, everything was so good, everything was ticking. Then on the eve of the fight, I get sick with the flu. I was like, what the hell, man? I didn't get sick the whole fight camp. For the past 7 weeks, I didn't get sick, nothing. I didn't get flu or anything. Then on the day of the fight, I get that. It was so crazy, but God knew what he wanted me to do. And my hero always say, Kobe Bryant is my hero. So there was an interview that he said that he had to play basketball some days with 100-degree fever. So in my head, I was like, maybe I have to bring in that Mamba mentality today, But I was like, but basketball, they've got so many teammates, you can rest in between. In the fight, I'm alone there. So I was very worried. I was very concerned about that.
How did the flu affect you during the fight?
I felt it when I tried to finish the fight. I really got very tired. I got very extremely tired. It was abnormal. I don't get tired in my fights, And for this fight, I was in the best conditioning and best shape possible. So I was even going to be cruising in moments of, extreme action. But the flu made it worse for me, man. So I kind of had to grind out the win, So it really affected me, especially in the last round. I was very, very tired. But my mind was not tired. The body was tired, the body was not reacting the same way, but my mind was not tired. In my head, I was just looking at this guy, I'm like, he's trying to take food off my table. He's trying to take a smile off my kid's face, Then I was just like, no ways. That's what kept me in the fight, My mind was sharp, was healthy, and my mind was firing from all angles and all cylinders. But my body wasn't, so I respect probably myself for that.
Well, what was the game plan going into the fight?
So our game plan was to strike a little bit with Takashi because he's a little bit comfortable. He's a little bit comfortable standing, and he thinks, in my opinion, he's very good standing because he's got that left hand, which I kind of feel like he only relies on that left hand. And obviously, I went back and looked at the guys that he knocked out before the fight, and I had a proper observation of everybody that he fought. And do they have a chin? Do they have a good camp? Then I realized, no, this guy has only knocked out, in the UFC, has knocked out guys that took the fight on 2 days notice. and the guy was just walking forward like a zombie, you know. So I was like, nah, he relies on the left hand, I'm gonna neutralize that with my kicks. And he didn't even catch me with a punch standing, to be honest. He didn't punch me once in my face standing. So my game plan was to stand with a little bit with him. I was intending on knocking him out. I feel like I almost did. So that
close.
It was so close. And with that also, you know, I'm to blame, because when I dropped him, I thought the ref was gonna rush in, you know, considering what happened in his last fight where he was hit and he froze. So, you know, you kind of want to save the guy's brain and rush and stop a little bit earlier. You know, if you are the referee that did his due diligence, you must research what happened in the guy's previous fight, in my opinion. And if a guy get dropped like that, save his brain. But I kind of like stopped, because I was going in for the kill. In my brain I was like, oh, this guy's not stopping. Then I went in there and tried to finish the fight. Then that's when I wasted a lot of energy trying to finish the fight. Then after that I felt it. Then I kind of like tried to breathe a little bit, gave him some positions, then took over my positions at the end, you know. I just didn't want to give him a very dominant position, and at times I was resting, but I was not trying so hard to give him too many dominant positions, you know.
Was there anything surprising in the fight?
Yeah, there was something that surprised me in the fight on how strong I was compared to his strength. I thought he was going to be way stronger. Yeah, I just thought he was going to be way stronger, but I just felt like he was too weak for me, you know. Obviously, he has got good judo. He threw me so hard on my head and other things that he's good at. But he was putting me in worst case scenario, and I was getting out so easy. And he didn't feel strong at all, man. He didn't feel strong at all. So that was my biggest surprise. I thought to myself, I thought he was strong. And when I was fighting him, I was almost kind of like manhandling him and playing a little bit. So yeah, that was the biggest surprise in the fight.
You became the first Zimbabwean fighter to win in the UFC.
Yeah, I became the first Zimbabwean champion. I mean, not champion, I will be a champion in the UFC. I became the first Zimbabwean fighter to win a fight in the UFC.
How does that feel?
It's destiny. I told you this before, you know. I told you this before, that it's gonna happen, I will do it. It didn't happen in the last one for good reasons, you know. It happened now, and this is the start of, I'm a jet setter, man. I am a jet setter in my life. I set records. I became the first guy, like, from Africa, from Zimbabwe, to become a world champion where I was before. You know, like, I've set so many records in my life already. People don't know. And I knew that all the records wait for me. They will wait for me. I don't chase them anymore. I've got the different mindset now. I don't chase things, I attract them, you know. Things come to me. I just have to work hard, try hard to be as pure as I can. You know, I'm not perfect. I don't seek perfection. I'll never find it. That's one thing I've learned. I'll never find perfection, but I'll try to work as hard as I can, try to be as pure as I can. Good things come to me, and records chase me, not me chasing them, you know.
What went wrong in your UFC debut?
Honestly, in my UFC debut, you know, like, I'll be honest with you, man, the moment got to me without recognizing it, you know. Especially like being excited, too excited, getting to the apex, you know. There were days during my fight week, I would spend the whole day at the apex. From the massage to get the food, chill in the dining room, and I'm fighting, you know. I kind of felt like I spread my energy all over in that fight week of my debut. My energy was too much everywhere, you know. And that was the first thing, you know. I was too excited to be at the UFC. I would spend the whole day at the apex. And for this fight, specifically for this fight, I said to myself, for this fight, I'm not going to go to the apex. No matter what happens, I'm not going to go to the apex. To the PI. And I didn't go. I didn't go for collecting food. I didn't go for training, for massage, for therapy, nothing. I stayed here, and I only went to the apex to see the cage the day before the fight, because I thought to myself, you know what? I don't want to make the same mistake again of getting too excited and distribute my energy everywhere. You You know, it's important to keep your energy within, to go deep within, especially at this level. If you spread your energy everywhere, man, you kind of like whatever, you fall with the wind.
So with that being said, do you think this fight was your real UFC debut, like your real coming out, like you showed who you really are?
In the AJ fight, I was doing well, right? I was doing well in that AJ fight, but there were things that I was surprised in that fight, you know, like especially like his body type. I didn't prepare accordingly for that fight, you know. I was ready. I was prepared. Like my manager said to me, "You failed prepared." I was prepared. I was fit. I was technically good. Everything sound, but I didn't prepare for that. I was not ready for his body type. When I grabbed him, I was kind of like in shock of how compact his body was. His body type was very hard, and not like he was stronger than me, but it just felt like this guy is kind of like, it's weird. It was so weird, you know. I should have prepared accordingly, get training partners that had the similar body type throughout the camp, and I didn't have that, you know. I didn't have that luxury, especially in Africa. I was training with bantamweights, featherweights. The heaviest guy I was training with for that fight was a lightweight. That should be a featherweight. So those things make a big difference, you know. So I don't say that this was my real debut. That was my debut. The first one was my debut, and it was great what happened, because what happened then did me a favor to be here right now, where I make history and become the first Zimbabwean to win a fight in the UFC, and to have a new team that believes in me as much as I believe in myself, and to have all these blessings that are coming my way.
When would you like to return?
Honestly, my return is probably going to be sooner than expected. I'm healthy, but we will see what we'll do, man. Like, I give that to my manager, you know. He's a smart guy. He's like a father figure, you know, like a manager that is like a father figure. He does not mince his words. He does not pretend to me like, oh, good, sweet Mary, let's just do this, you know. Like, he already spoke to me what we need to do, and we'll figure it out. Probably I'll be back August, September, I don't know, or October, November, December, who knows. But for now, the main focus is to go back home, spend some time with my family, then get back to Miami, start training. I mean, I'll be training when I land home, but the main thing right now is to just get over this hump of spending some time with my family. You know, it's been a wild ride. It's been 8 weeks, tomorrow 8 weeks since I left home. So I need to go back home, spend some time with my family, and let them enjoy this victory, because you know what, they suffer the most when I lose. So, but I'll be back soon. Probably I might clock 4 fights this year. Who knows? I'm on number 2 and we're in May. But I'm not putting pressure on myself on how many fights I should have. Things will happen naturally. Like I said, I don't chase anymore. I attract.
You revealed in your post-fight interview that, like, you lost a lot of friends, and you lost a lot of people that you thought were really close to you when you lost. But do you feel when you go back home with this win, those people are going to try and get back into your life?
I didn't lose them. They revealed themselves. I didn't lose them. They revealed who they truly are to me and where I should place them in my life. You know, I didn't lose them. But they revealed themselves, and I kind of know where I should place them, because, you know, like, God bless them. Like I said, the Lord must forgive them. I kind of know where I stand with a lot of people, especially back home. I kind of know, like, you know, when you are on this journey, sometimes you get kind of like caught up and you think that everything is fine in your surroundings, you know. But when you lose, that's when you realize not everything is fine. That's when the real stuff start popping up, the real ones start popping up, you know. So I didn't lose them. Probably they lost me, because, you know what I used to do, I won't do anymore. You know, I try to help so many guys. You know, people don't know this, but I'm gonna reveal this. I own a gym in South Africa. The reason I probably broke is not because I don't use my money wisely. is because this gym does not make me money. This gym is for like these African kids that I let them come and train in my gym for free, and there's no one taking nothing from these guys. Some are still amateur, man. And on top of that, they train in there for free, they make their money. Some of them even steal clients within the gym to train them privately so that they can make that money. And I see sometimes leave it, and I suffer, you know, because then if there's a shortfall on the money, I have to put money from my pocket or take money from my wife or whatever to put things together, you know. So people don't know this thing. They'll be like, oh, he must use his money wisely. Yes, I make money, but at the end of the day, I have a gym that does not make me money in South Africa. Does not make me money. I spend money. Everybody is just taking. I'm putting. You know, and you end up in these positions where you don't have money. Especially, I lost my last fight. I got taxed 30% because I didn't have social security. So, and then you have to pay a manager, you have to pay this. You know, you end up going home with nothing. Do you understand? And it was also a lesson that I shouldn't bang on the fight too much, you know, that all my life is gonna change within a fight. So I have that in South Africa, where like I have that gym, and then on top of that, something that I wanna reveal, I also physically myself, I have a flat, not where I stay, where I rent a flat. I pay monthly rental for those guys, for the 7 guys that stay in my flat. I pay for their rent. I pay their rent for the flat. And guess what? On top of that, I buy groceries every month. I was buying groceries every month for these guys. Not because I needed to, not because I get something out of it. These guys are amateur fighters. Some of them will not even make it, some of them will make it, who knows, you know? It's just because I felt like I needed to help, you know? I know how hard it is for an African kid like myself, like a kid without a father, a kid with a poor father, a kid without anything to come up, you know? And if I can pick one, it would be great. I was picking 7, you know, and many people don't know those things. And you know, when I lost that fight, some of those boys, some of them, man, like, you know, they make excuses. Some people make excuses that, oh, you are hard to talk to. Sometimes it's all excuses, it's all bullshit at the end of the day. Because you know what, there were other people that reached out and messaged me and talked to me and be like, hey man, I'm sorry, within the group. There were people that talked to me, and people make bullshit excuses. And you know, I had like friends that I call my friends, you know, like I've got a very few like people that I can call my friends from my side of view, but they regarded me as a friend. Like, you know, spot the difference. I call them my friends, they regard me as a friend. That's a big difference, you know. And it's very, very hard for me, you know, to think of that. And especially coming off a loss, you are like going through all this, and some of them kind of like try to rub it on my face, you know, that I have lost. And man, like, I'll attend these MMA events. Like, there's a show in South Africa, man. There's a show in South Africa, EFC. Like, I can tell you this, man. I attended this show. This ate me so much. I was at this show, then the promoter came to me. He knew I was fighting. He knew I fought the week before. He knew I was attending the event to corner one of my boys there. He knew I had a fight. Bro, you know what he did? He came so sly to me, man. He's like, I couldn't stop thinking about Dricus and Cameroon fighting this weekend. And when I was thinking about that, I thought to myself, oh, Themba is about to make his debut too. Then I said to him, bro, don't lie to me, man. You know I made my debut, you know I lost, you know. Please don't come and, I'm not stupid. You know, I said to him, I'm not stupid, don't come to me and act this. He's like, oh, did you fight really? I'm like, bro, I'm not stupid, you know. People, like, it's crazy, man. It ate me so much that these guys acted like, some of them come to me trying to rub it in my face and be like, to remind you, yeah, we remember you have lost, you know. You know, and some of them give you the sweet comfort, you know. People will give you this sweet comfort of saying, oh, at least you've made it to the UFC. Like, other people have not will never make it to the UFC, so just be okay. So like some people will try to put you on a bad way. It's okay to lose, it's in the UFC, which is better, you know, like than nothing, or trying to rub it in my face that I have lost a fight. So it has been eating me, man. It's been eating me for a while. The South African MMA scene, I don't know, bro, like it's a crazy wild. If you are a person like me who is very vocal, like I'm very vocal, man. I don't hold back when I say things. Who's very vocal and who's hardworking and who has the potential, you know, like someone like, you know, who has the potential to be something. People don't like someone that feels that make them feel some type of way like me, you know. I don't hold back, and if I feel like I should say something, I'll say it. And people don't like people like me, you know, in Africa, in South Africa especially, you know. So I kind of dropped that ego for myself, because you know what, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, what you do, what you have done will never be taken away from you. I have lived in Africa. I have suffered in Africa way more than anyone has, probably, that is in MMA, you know. From where I come from to where I am right now, like I told you before, I have already made it, because I come from the real gutters where I didn't have nothing. I picked myself up. I rose to this occasion. So like I've done my part in Africa. From now onwards, my camp is always going to be in America, in Miami, all the way to the belt. Until I become the champion, you know, then we can see what we can do then. But or maybe something will change in Africa. Maybe something will change, you never know. But at this time and point, I don't see myself training in Africa, you know. Honestly, I don't see myself training in Africa. It's an ego thing if I say, oh, I train in Africa and become the first champion living and training in Africa. Nah, you don't have the right support system, you don't have the right, you don't have everything, you know. Like here, the advantage that most of the UFC athletes that fight and train in America have is that the nutrition. You get supplements sent to you when you live here in America. I got supplements sent to me for free. Food sent to you for free. Good nutrition. Like, you know, people don't say this, but UFC does a lot, man. When I was here, I was like, all this for free? Like supplements, the food for free through the whole camp, you know, like as a person that didn't have money, when I signed the fight, then they told me that, oh, you can actually get food from the UFC too. I was like, really? They send you 3 meals a day. So like, you are in your prime, you got the right coaching, right nutrition, right everything, so why not do it from here, you know? I won't relocate and live here permanently, but all my camps will be done here. And for those that ridiculed me back home, for those that backstabbed, for those that did what they did to me or whatever, that reviewed themselves, like I say, God bless them. I'm kind of like on my own path now, you know. I found myself, I found what I need to do. I didn't lose them, they lost me.
Last 2 things I wanted to ask about Dricus Du Plessis. He said he's the real African in the UFC, breathes African air. I just wanted to know your response to that.
I saw that interview, you know, like when he said that he's a real African who breathes himself. He said people are trying to redo this thing, you know, like we all have to come out and say something like we have to what Dricuss said was wrong, right? Firstly, he was not at that time and point when that interview was done, him and Cameron were not the only African fighters who breathe and smells African air, wake up in an African sun with the African address. I was in Africa too, and we trained 30 minutes away from each other. He knew about me, he talked to me a week before when I lost my fight. He talked to me, he's like, and I'm like, okay bro, thank you so much, you know. He's like, sorry about your loss, whatever. But at that point in time, he was wrong. And obviously I didn't have a foot to stand on because I was coming off a loss. You can't come off a loss and come and claim and be like, hey, what about me too, bro? You know, people will be like, hey bro, know where you're standing. You're just coming off a loss, get out of here, you know. So I kind of like took a back step on that, but it ate me too, to be honest. It ate me, you know, like it ate me that the guy is saying myself and Cameron are the only African fighters who lives and breathes the African air, who wake up in Africa. And everyone can try to say whatever they say. Go and listen to that interview, that's exactly what he said. You know, myself and Cameroon are the only African fighters who lives and breathes the African air, who wakes up in Africa. You know, that was not cool. And then with the story with Easy and Kamaru Usman and the other guys, he was right. But he was also not right, because the belts have gone to Africa. Ngannou took his belt to Cameroon, Adesanya went to Nigeria, Kamaru went to Nigeria. But do they live and train in Africa? No. You know, for those belts, they didn't live and train in Africa, which also comes back to infrastructure. Things that we don't have in Africa, you know. As like Africans, we don't have some things, and we should accept and say, okay, cool. They didn't willingly go to these countries, you know. I've also said stuff about Usman when I won my championship in EFC, when I said that man left Africa when he was 6. Yes, I did my research. Kamaru left Africa when he was 6. When I said that man can't represent Africa, I know what Africa is about. I know how to survive and live in Africa. I said that with my own mouth. And you know what? Do I feel proud of saying that? No. Because you know what? It was wrong. We should accept when we are wrong. I was wrong in some way, especially on saying that you know, that man can't represent Africa. That is wrong, man. He's African, he's a brother, you know. But he left Africa when he was 6, you know. Me being the guy that knows what Africa is about, surviving Africa, know the suffering of Africa, I was correct. So that was not cool, you know, that was not cool. And the whole beef with Easy, you know, Easy is the guy that any African kid in Africa looks up to that is doing MMA. No matter who says what, most African kids in Africa, including myself, I'm in the UFC, I look up to Easy. Few looks up to Dricus, which is great, you know. We can get inspired by him, but not a lot of kids look really up to him, to be honest and fair, you know. Because you know what? I don't know, I don't want to go deep within it, but you know, their suffering is different. The suffering is different. Like, there's more African kids probably that will be looking up to me than they do to him, because the suffering is different. You know, the suffering is different. Bro, the guy he's coming from a rich family. You know, I grew up without a father, no mother, and I kind of like had to find my way through life. I worked in the garden. This guy has not worked in the garden. Come on, you work in the garden as a leisure, bro. You know, I'm not throwing shade at him. It is what it is. It's life. It's his own life. We all have different avenues in life. God bless his path. God bless my path. But yeah, like, the suffering is different. That's why a lot of kids in Africa really do look up to Adesanya, including myself. Not because Adesanya is, but you know, you can kind of relate. You can kind of relate, you know. If when Easy goes to Africa, to Nigeria, you don't see him. You see him hanging around with the poorest of the poorest in Nigeria, dancing on those music videos with the poor Nigerian kids, you know. I don't know about Kamaru, man. Kamaru is in my division, so I don't care. I don't know about Kamaru. I have my takes on Kamaru. I met him once at the UFC when Easy was fighting Jared Cannonier. Obviously, I had that target on him back then in 2019, but you know, we kind of had been talking, me and Kamaru, you know, we have been talking before we met at the UFC with where Easy was defending his title. And Kamaru kind of like, you know, I'm like, hey, I was so excited to meet him. Hey, Kamaru, how are you? And he says to me, what's up? And that ate me, you know. I'm like, oh, bro, I'm so excited to meet you, you know. Then kind of like few people, they said to me, oh, don't you know Kamaru? He's like that. So me and Kamaru, I got my own take. And also having that said, he's in my division. We are in the same division, you know. So I don't think we have any love there. But Ngannou, great for him, what he's doing. You can kind of feel Ngannou, right? Like, let's say what he's doing now, trying to do this PFR. You can feel the guy's trying to uplift Africa, you know. Some people are just in there for themselves. But yeah, man, this whole thing with Dricuss and Easy, it's not cool. But it sells tickets, right? People are talking about it. We are talking about it right now, wasting our time. But it's not cool, man. It's not cool. It's not cool. For me, I don't like it. I look up to Easy, and I know a lot of African kids look up to Easy. You know, I don't have that. Yeah, we all have said something that we regret in our lives, including myself. So it is what it is. I know. After this, when the African people, like in the South African community of MMA, oh my God, when they see this interview, bro, they'll be like hammering on me. You know why? Because you know what, they can find something to say about Themba, you know, something negative to say about Themba. I'm just stating facts here, you know. It's different. It's different. And what people think is facts and what is facts is also different. And yeah, man, it is what it is. They must do what they want to do. I'm moving away and drifting away from that part of the world. Not trying to bend any bridge, but I'm just stating facts. Me moving away from Africa, trying to train and win my fights in America does not take away anything from me being from Africa, because you know, this is like a dream, like a American dream story, you know, from where I come from the village in Zimbabwe to make it to South Africa, from South Africa to make it through the ranks to become the champion, to make it to Abu Dhabi, to make it to pay my own flights to New Zealand, to New Orleans, to get in the UFC the way I got into the UFC, to lose my first fight, to find myself again with people paying my trip to go to Miami, to get this win under the circumstances that I was in, being sick with the flu on the day. You know, like this is like an American dream. And this is a story that can inspire a lot of African kids, you know. Even not just African kids, I believe a lot of people get inspired by my story, you know. So yeah, it is what it is. People can say what they want to say about me. I don't care.
And finally, you made a lot of people talk last night because you said Colby brought you food when you didn't have a lot of food or a lot of money while in camp. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
So, you know, like, you know, when I met Colby the first time, obviously like any other fighter, you kind of don't trust everybody. When a guy walks into the gym, you kind of like don't trust everybody, you know, like you're like, okay, cool, you want to suss out the guy and see what it's like and stuff. Like, I'll do the same. Then eventually, like, you know, he invited me to a training session. He's like, come train with me. Then, you know, like you kind of feel like this guy is actually a different person than we see in the thing, you know. And you give me like real life advice, you know, and we'll talk and we'll like, you know, like interact. Like the first day that he invited me to a training session, I said to him, hey Colby, I don't have money to Uber to UFC Fit in Pines. Then he says, I got you, take my number, I'll Uber you to there, you know. Then eventually like he organized someone to pick me up to go there. So like these are the things that people don't see. He didn't have to have me in his session. That was his own session, you know, with his coach. He didn't have to have me there, but he just kind of like wanted to help me. And you know, those are the things that we don't see and say about other people, you know, because we just wanna say certain things. And I just wanted to shed light on it, to say, you know, when I was in Miami, this guy was so cool to me, he helped me. And at times he'll bring me food to the gym, right? And that's nice. He didn't have to do that. That's nice, and I appreciate that, you know, because you know what, gratitude goes a long way. And you know, he changed my thinking about him, you know. I kind of like, actually what's funny is like, even when I was in Africa, when the whole thing with him, and I never had anything against Colby, you know. I just like was like, he's a good fighter, that's all I knew. Like I was like, he's a good fighter. You know, some guys I don't like, especially if they're in the waterway division, I'll say I don't like this guy, you know. I just kind of knew like he's a good fighter, you know. Then when I met him in person, it became even better, right? Just like this guy that is fighting Leon Edwards, he's a good guy too. Leon is a good guy, and maybe Leon is a little bit reserved on what he does whatsoever. Colby is more, you know, to sell whatever he sells, right? Which makes for a good business for both of them. They're gonna make a lot of money, And yeah, man, it's very good to share stories about other people and just put out there, because you know, you never know in this world. Some people don't even say good things about other people, you know. Yeah, it's rare to find people to say good things about other people. I don't benefit anything from this to say that he's a nice guy, he was nice to me, you know. I don't really benefit anything than to just say it, you know. In that moment in time, I appreciate that, and he was a very nice person to me in my camp, you know. Gives me good advice, trained with me, sparred with me, you know, give me pointers on where I need to work on. Some of the stuff I was using in the fight too, you know. So it's a good thing, you know. And you just train with someone at that level, it just brings you to that level or just below that level, so that you can elevate to go to the next level. So it is a blessing to be in Miami training with him and the rest of the team at MMA Masters, and I believe I'll become a champion in the UFC. That's my sort of dream. That's where I'm going. You know, I have stopped chasing these dreams of saying I'm chasing my dream. No, I'm going for the dreams for the goals. I'm going for the goals, you know. I'm going for what I want. So I've stopped that. I will become a champion in the UFC. It's just a matter of time on when. The right opportunities will come, the right fights will come, my path will be paved, and sooner or later you'll see me with that belt.
Themba, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. If you want to plug your social media, any sponsors you might have, and if you want to thank anybody,
I just want to thank God for the time, and thank God for the energy, thank God for giving me the knowledge that I have about life, and just ask Him to give me more, and stay humble. Obviously say what I have to say with my mouth. That might be on my chest, but I wanna be able to stay humble and chase my dreams, listen to the right people, and yeah, that's my prayer. That's what I can only plug, to say, please God, give me this strength to overcome all the things in this life that can lead me to a path where I can kind of detour away from my goal. Yeah.